Good morning, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you again for joining me. I always appreciate you taking your time with me. Today is January 31st, 2024. This is the last day of January. So today I will share a little bit updates on the major uh, restriction in Ethiopia's largest region in Oromia. Second day. This is the second day of embargo in Oromia. It's already impacting major transportation, public transportation, and goods and markets. So, and even some of the transportation vehicle owners ignored the warning and got punishment. Some of them lost their vehicles burned down. So the embargo is still effective. So I will share the updates I got from Addis Standard and Anchor Media in Amharic. It's in general sense, it's talking about the embargo in Oromia region, you know, all over Oromia, East, West Wallagga, Ambo, uh, and also impacting public bus transportation leaving Addis Ababa and the major road from Addis Ababa to Awasa. All these are impacted. So very less movement of vehicles, even though the government in Oromia try to force people to do business, open business, but in general sense, in majority cities and the town, the embargo is effective. So let's listen to this Anchor Media report on this restriction. And I have also Addis Standard talking about the same thing, but Addis Standard didn't get the information about those burning, you know, vehicles. But Anchor has this in about 4 vehicles burned, according to this report. One in Walisor Road in Western Shore Zone, and one in Jimma Road. One vehicle also burned down. So in general, it's talking about the update about embargo and how it's impacting the transportation and the public movement and bringing goods to market. All these are banks, all are under this embargo, impacted under this restriction for the second day. So those who understand Amharic, they may, enjoy this video, the update. But in English, is roughly about embargo impacting all areas in Oromia region, including Dredoa, Harar, East and West Wallagga, Shore, and the major road from Addis Ababa to Awasa. All these are impacted. So this still we are under serious restriction. I hope those ignoring the embargo will listen from this impact and follow the restriction. Thank you again for coming back. Let's listen to this one, and I have Addis Standard News on the same thing in reading.
እናም በኦሮሞ ነጻነት ሰራዊት የተጠራው የተሽከርካሪዎች እንቅስቃሴ ገደብና የሥራ ማቆም አድማ በሁለተኛ ቀኑ በተለያዩ አካባቢዎች ተሽከርካሪዎች መቃጠላቸው ተገለጸ። በምስራቅ ወለጋ፣ በምዕራብ ወለጋ፣ ቄለም ወለጋ ዞን ሙሉ በሙሉ የስራና የተሽከርካሪዎች እንቅስቃሴ መቆሙ ታውቋል። በነቀምት ባንኮች፣ የንግድ ቦታዎች ሙሉ በሙሉ የተዘጉ ሲሆን ማንኛውም አይነት ተሽከርካሪ በጎዳና ላይ እንዳልታየ ነው ያገኘነው መረጃ የሚያመለክተው። ትላንት ከሰዓት በደቡብ ምዕራብ ሸዋ ቱሉ ቦሎ ወሊሶ መስመር 3 የጭነት ተሽከርካሪዎች የአድማ ጥሪውን በመተላለፋቸው መቃጠላቸውን ለማወቅ ተችሏል። በዚሁ መስመር ወደ ጅማ ሲያመራ የነበረ ተሽከርካሪም መቃጠሉ ተሰምቷል። በምዕራብ ወለጋ ደምቢዶሎ ጨምሮ በበርካታ የዞኑ አካባቢዎች ሁሉም እንቅስቃሴዎች ከትላንት ጀምሮ የቆሙ ሲሆን ቦሮ ጉድሩ፣ ሻምቡና የተለያዩ ቦታዎች በተመሳሳይ የተጠራው አድማ ተግባራዊ መሆኑም ተመልክቷል። በምዕራብ ሸዋና በሰሜን ሸዋ ተሽከርካሪዎች እንቅስቃሴ አቁመዋል። በምስራቅ ሐረርጌም፣ ድሬዳዋ፣ ሐረር መስመሮች የመንግስት አገልግሎት ሰጪ ተቋማትን ጨምሮ የንግድ እንቅስቃሴዎች ሙሉ በሙሉ መቆማቸውን ያገኘነው መረጃ ያመለክታል። ከአዲስ አበባ ወደ አዳማ ናዝሬት መንገድ ላይ የተሽከርካሪዎች ቁጥር በከፍተኛ ደረጃ የቀነሰ ሲሆን ከሞጆ እስከ ዝዋይ ባቱ ባለው መስመር በመከላከያ ሰራዊት ጥበቃ እየተደረገላቸው የተወሰኑ ተሽከርካሪዎች ሲንቀሳቀሱ መታየታቸውን ከደረሰን መረጃ ለማወቅ ተችሏል። ለሁለተኛ ጊዜ በኦሮሞ ነጻነት ሰራዊት የተጠራው አድማ ከፍተኛ ቀውስ መፍጠሩም እየተነገረ ነው። ከአዲስ አበባ የሚወጡ የህዝብ ማመላለሻ አውቶቡሶች መንቀሳቀስ አልቻሉም። ከሐዋሳ ወደ አዲስ አበባ የሚደረገው ጉዞ በተደጋጋሚ በሚፈጸሙ ጥቃቶች ምክንያት እየቀረ እንደሆነ ህብረተሰቡ በምሬት እየገለጸ ነው። በዚህም የአውሮፕላን ጉዞ ለማድረግ መገደዳቸውንና ለከፍተኛ ወጪ መዳረጋቸውን ነዋሪዎች ይናገራሉ። በመጀመሪያው ዙር የአድማ ጥሪ ከ50 በላይ ተሽከርካሪዎች መቃጠላቸው የሚታወስ ሲሆን ከ20 በላይ ሰዎችም ተገድለዋል። የኦሮሞ ነጻነት ሰራዊት የጠራውን አድማ በተመለከተ የኦሮሚያ ክልላዊ መንግስት ምንም አይነት መግለጫ አልሰጠም። በአንዳንድ አካባቢዎች መከላከያ ሰራዊቱ እያስገደደ የንግድ ቦታዎች እንዲከፈቱ ቢያደርግም የተጠራውን አድማ ማስቆም እንዳልቻለ ነው መረጃዎች የሚያመለክቱት።
ኦኬ
ማስቆም እንዳልቻለ ነው መረጃዎች።
Okay. So thank you, Anchor Media, Masai Makonnen. So he's talking about this second round of embargo in Oromia impacting all kind of transportation, office activities, banking, marketing, all activities are restricted and even impacting exposing some individuals to use airplane, spending more money. And he is also saying in the first round of embargo, 20 people killed and also 50 vehicles burned down. This is on the first embargo. But this one is so far, according to this report, is only 4 transportation vehicles burned down. So the restriction is all over Oromia. Also, people living from the capital city, Addis Ababa, to other areas, and people try to come from farther cities and town like Awasa. So the roads are restricted. People are suffering because of this restriction, according to this report. So we will continue watching this very serious embargo, and we'll report to you. But the government in Oromia region try to force some business owners to open, if not to, put some restriction on the business owners and the transportation, but it didn't work so far. But it's released also a press statement saying this is the work of Oromo Liberation Army to destabilize Oromia region by creating this embargo. Let me read what Addis Standard, almost the same, just the English translation of this embargo. So I use Addis Standard as my main news outlet for my English program, English news. Sharing with you, let me read. Calls for transport and a market strike in Oromia hampers mobility. Regional government blames OLA. Parts of the Oromia regional state, Western Oromia in particular, have seen restrictions on transportation activities as a result of transport and market strikes that was declared on Sunday evening for the second round. A resident of Shambu town in Horro Guduru, Wallagga zone, who didn't want to be named for safety reasons, told Addis Standard that there is limited transportation and business activities, that is in quotation, in the town since yesterday. Again in quotation, there is not much vehicular movement or that of people in Shambu town. Many institutions, including banks, were shut yesterday, and the government officials were seen going around the city and taking measures against closed businesses. End of quotation, he said. Transportation and commercial activities were also suspended in Nakamte city in the East Wallagga zone. A resident preferring anonymity told Addis Standard that, in quotation, transportation, businesses, and offices were shut on Monday, end of quotation, following stern warning from the authorities. Three-wheel Bajads started moving today. Offices are also opening, end of quotation, he added. Yeah, because they forced them, threatened them with all kind of penalties. Addis Standard learned from residents of Ambo in the West Shoa zone that vehicular movements passing through the city to Western Oromia have been significantly impacted. A truck driver who travels between the capital Addis Ababa and Western Oromia corroborated this fact, stating that his scheduled trip to Western Oromia has been put on hold due to the ban. In quotation, vehicles are not traveling, so I suspended my travel, end of quotation, he told Addis Standard. In other parts of Oromia, the call for transportation and the market strike has had minimal effect. A resident of Meki town in the East Shore zone, who also asked not to be named, said transport activities have been, in quotation, limited, end of quotation, since yesterday, because as you heard from Anchor Media, the government forces escorted some of these transportation activities. Social media reports suggest the Oromo Liberation Army, OLA, is behind the transportation and the market ban, with its militant reportedly taking measures against those defying the call. But the armed group didn't make the calls, at least publicly. In a statement issued on Monday, the Oromia Administration and the Security Bureau also implicated the armed group, saying that, in quotation, Jenin, end of quotation, orchestrated the ban. The Bureau said, despite attempts to disrupt, in quotation, development activities by launching propaganda on social media, end of quotation, in parts of the region, the people have continued their activities. Yes, they try to put a positive image on the region, but according to this and other medias, not that much activity in Oromia region. Attempts by Addis Standard to acquire comment from the Oromo Liberation Army spokesperson were unsuccessful. So that is from Addis Standard, giving us update on this restriction for the second round in Oromia region. This one is from U.S. State Department press statement, taking action to combat the Iranian regime transitional repression. It says the United States and the United Kingdom are taking joint action today to impose sanctions on 11 individuals for their connection to a criminal network that has targeted foreign dissidents and Iranian regime opponents for assassination at the behest of Iran's Ministry of Intelligence and Security, MOIS. The individuals designated today are believed to be involved in a network that has carried out acts of transitional repression, including numerous assassinations and kidnappings, and has also plotted operations in the United States. The Department of the Treasury is taking this action in conjunction with the unsealing of an indictment by the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The United States will continue to use all available tools to hold the Iranian regime accountable for its attempts to extend its repression internationally, as well as its ongoing human rights abuses against its own people and its actions to sow instability in the Middle East region and beyond. So that is some action from the United States against Iranian actions. So it is shame on Iran if they are trying to, kidnap and murder those dissidents, those who are opposing the government in foreign land, in England and the United States. So that's shame. They should stop. This is another from U.S. State Department on Venezuela. Sanctions against and supporting democracy in Venezuela. Actions by Nicolas Maduro and his representatives in Venezuela, including the arrest of members of the democratic opposition and the barring of candidates from competing in the year's presidential election, are inconsistent with the agreement signed in Barbados last October by representatives of Nicolas Maduro and the Unitary Platform. In support of the Barbados Agreement, the United States issued General License 44, which provides relief to Venezuela's oil and gas sector. Absent progress between Maduro and his representatives and the opposition Unitary Platform, particularly on allowing all presidential candidates to compete in this year's election, the United States will not renew the license when it expires on April 18, 2024. Additionally, the United States is revoking General License 43, which authorized transactions involving Miner Ven, the Venezuelan state-owned gold mining company. U.S. persons will have 14 days to wind down any transaction that were previously authorized by that license. The United States remains strongly committed to supporting dialogue between the parties and to the aspiration of the Venezuelan people for a democratic future. We will continue to work with the international community and all peaceful democratic actors across the political spectrum in Venezuela and leverage mechanisms at our disposal to encourage a return to the principles in the Barbados Agreement. The Barbados Electoral Roadmap Agreement remains the most viable mechanism to resolving Venezuela's long-standing political, economic, and humanitarian crisis and realizing competitive and inclusive elections in Venezuela. But that will require Maduro and his representatives upholding the roadmap's principles and ensuring that opposition political actors have the right to select their candidates for the 2024 presidential election freely. So that is the United States' tough measure against Venezuela. There is a challenge over there. Venezuela, after Hugo Chavez, Maduro came. Maduro is the same thing. He wants to stay in power and will not allow free and fair elections. So that's why this is, sanctions on Venezuela. So that's all I have on reading for you. Let's continue watching a couple of videos and end today's presentation. The next video is about hunger in Tigray region. In the previous video, I reported to you, World Food Program awarded Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed for his visionary leadership and in work, securing food security. So, as I said, as many media reported on that one, that is not the reality on the ground in Ethiopia. That is a misleading award given to Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. Ethiopia is in a dire need of humanitarian aid. No food security in Ethiopia. So we call on FAO to take back that award and force those individuals to resign for giving this unreasonable recognition, something like based on fake information. The evidence on the ground is calling for more humanitarian aid to Ethiopia. Millions are suffering, millions. Plus we have war in Amara and the war in Oromia region. So that report is fake. That award is fake, and the United Nations should remove these officials immediately and take back the award. Thank you. Let's listen to this hunger issue in Tigray.
Over a month after aid agencies resumed deliveries of grain in Ethiopia, only a small fraction is reportedly reaching communities in need in the northern region of Tigray. The Associated Press reported that just 14% of 3.2 million people targeted for food aid by humanitarian agencies in the region this month had received it by January 21st. The news agency cited a memo by the Tigray Food Cluster, a group of aid agencies co-chaired by the UN's World Food Program and Ethiopian officials. In the Amhara region neighboring Tigray, a rebellion that erupted in August is impeding humanitarian movements and making distributions difficult. The memo urges humanitarian groups to immediately scale up their operations. When the chief administrator of the interim regional administration of Tigray raised the alarm over looming mass starvation deaths last month, a federal government spokesperson dismissed the reports as inaccurate. The UN and the US paused food aid to Tigray in mid-March last year after discovering a large-scale scheme to steal humanitarian grain. The suspension was rolled out to the rest of Ethiopia in June.
So that is the reality. We need more humanitarian aid.
Girls.
Scale up
and
on
a
the
warm
humanitarian
welcome to
aid.
our new girl, Ellen Wilson.
And we don't need this publicity
far more
award.
to Valerie Towers in the classroom, and there's far more to you too.
Is it really true? Italy's development plan for Africa is presented as a plan Marshall, It seeks to fulfill two ambitions: reducing illegal
So
migration
this is
through economic
African
prosperity and
Italy
transforming
meeting
Italy into a
ended.
key energy supply hub. If the head of the UN Migration Agency warned against scaling down rescue missions on the Mediterranean, she welcomed the summit on Monday.
The fact that the conversation is not actually all about migration, but about how you drive better development outcomes, how you invest in green energy, how you invest in job training, that is a much more effective way of dealing with migration pressures than just talking about how do we stop people from crossing the Mediterranean.
The Secretary General of one of the main non-profit Italian development foundations in Africa said the proposed Mattei plan would reduce migration only in the long term. The Mattei Plan decree already speaks of a 4-year horizon. We can consider this as a medium-term horizon, but to have an impact in African countries, especially from the point of view of education, meaning the training of new generations from an educational point of view, for that we need at least a 10-year horizon to have results. Then clearly in the short term, you can activate tools to manage the migration phenomenon more than to contain it. Managing means to create legal, authorized, regular migration flows. I don't believe this plan can contain the migration phenomenon in the short term. I think it's unlikely. The African Union Commission Chair, the Deputy Chief of the United Nations, insisted that changes were essential to realize the potential of Africa.
At the halfway point of the 2030 agenda, progress on the Sustainable Development Goals is falling woefully short. Only 15% of the targets are on track to be met by 2030, and by any standard, that is a fail. With our dynamic and booming youth population, our wealth of critical minerals, and the vast renewable energy prospects in Africa, Africa could become a clean energy powerhouse and a digital service center and the next great manufacturing hub of the world.
24 African leaders were in Rome for the summit, the first major event of Italy's Group of 7 presidency. Italian Green and opposition lawmakers criticized the Mattei plan, calling it a neo-colonial empty box.
Okay, this is the last video. Please don't watch this one with children. This is Israeli criminal act in hospital in Jenin. This is very shame, really. Israeli crossed all the lines of humanity. They dressed like nurses, doctors, and they acted like handicapped, and they entered the hospital and killed those 3 individuals. It's a genocide. It's a really. This has happened inside the hospital.
The first crime was to invade the hospital disguised as doctors, nurses, and even one of them disguised as a disabled man in a wheelchair. Second, they entered the hospital and executed people in hospital beds. These people did not have a due legal process, yet Israel is assassinating people left and right, not only in this hospital, but everywhere.
Okay. That is horrible to watch. This is the Israeli soldiers' criminal act. This has happened after ICJ ruling, to protect civilians, to do everything, not to commit genocide again, but they don't listen to anybody. Israeli soldiers leadership acting beyond all rules, thanks to Biden, thanks to the United States support. They acted like that. And, this is a clear genocide, clear human rights violation and exposing in a second round, maybe, doctors, nurses, and other disabled individuals to be targeted by armed group. This is shame. How you act like a peaceful person, dress like a doctor, dress like a nurse, and act like a disabled person, and murder individuals. This should be condemned by all humanities. They should be accountable for this action if there is any law to hold them accountable. So far, we didn't see any. So are just crime after crime, crime after crime, and maybe you might see how they treat captured Palestinians. They treat them like trash, inhumane, bare body, strip their clothes, just leave them with underwear, cover their eyes. There is no dignity really for Palestinians. No dignity. That's very bad to watch. Very bad to watch. And I hope we want to see accountability for all deaths, all destruction in our lifetime. We hope to see that. We don't give up. So let me conclude by saying this: the embargo, the restriction in the largest region in Oromia is still the largest region in Ethiopia in Oromia is still effective, and even there is no ending date announced. So until then, all individuals should be keep themselves safe, follow the restriction, don't lose your vehicles for nothing. You invested too much money on that one, and don't risk your lives. Stay away, follow the embargo, and wait for the announcement date, ending date. And the foreigners visiting Ethiopia, visiting Oromia region, they should be cautioned not to do it in this week. And foreigners living in capital city Addis Ababa also, they should be careful traveling to Oromia region until this embargo is lifted. Very serious embargo. And you saw the burning of vehicles. So far, no deaths reported except 4 vehicles burned. So that is a very tough one, and we should update ourselves with different news outlet on this. And if I got something, I'll come back and update you. But so far, the embargo is maybe heading to the 3rd day now. So all individuals living in Oromia, visiting Oromia, they should, be cautious about this serious restriction and transportation and marketing, office closures, all related restrictions. That's all I'm going to say for today. Thank you for sharing your time. Be safe. So long, everyone.